If I was to ask you what would be your perfect scenario with Battlefield 1 when it came out, or when it comes out, I suppose, what would you like to see?
Wait. Are you sure you want to have this discussion now, or you want to be surprised?
No, let's have this discussion now. Let's do a couple minutes. What would you like to see, and then I'll discuss what I want to see.
I would like not to see single player.
You don't want to see single player at all?
No, I would like it to be, and I'm gonna say this if you put the question to me.
Yeah.
I would like not to see single player, and I would like to see an opportunity to be able to have something like but more advanced, something like the test range that they introduced into BF4, something like the training range that we have in Overwatch, something like that. I mean, the single player, it's clear. Maybe this one is good. I'm not saying this, that, or the other. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's shit. I haven't played the game. We don't know how single player is. But DICE doesn't really have a long history of making good single players. The last good single player they made was from Bad Company 2. And I think that was the second single player they made. The first was Bad Company 1, console exclusive. The second was Bad Company 2. I had fun playing the single player. I'm not gonna say otherwise. I had fun. And after that it was shit.
Yeah.
It was like Michael Bay scene after Michael Bay scene.
Yeah. I remember like
rip off Call of Duty.
Like BF3, when I played it on 360 and I played the campaign because I didn't have internet at the time, so I was like, well, I'm just gonna play this campaign, watch Battlefield 3, chuck it in, let's have a go. And it looked insanely cool. I mean, that mission where you have the rocket launcher and you shoot across at the skyscraper, is it a sniper or something? It looked awesome. No two ways about it, it was awesome. But then I played BF4, obviously on release, you couldn't play multiplayer, nothing worked, so I played a bit of the campaign, and I was just disappointed, even though that was the only part of the game that was available to me. It was just really no substance to it, the plot was quite poor, the characters weren't lovable at all, and just a waste. I'd have rather them taken that time that was spent in the campaign, put it into something else. And if you even start on Hardline...
like you said, if they had spent their time on something else, like, for example, Battlefield 4, you mentioned Battlefield 4. I mean, that game could have gone totally without single player. Maybe 5-10% of the community would miss it for, like, a day. Then they would get into the whole multiplayer experience and they would forget all about it, or forget they ever wanted single player. Now, the idea is that if they had spent all that time that they spent on single player on Battlefield 4's stability and netcode, all that time, money, resources, that would have made for an awesome BF experience, and not the, I don't know, roughly 6 months of continuous crashing from day one. That would have been, I would say, a much better allocation of resources. To my mind, I mean, who the fuck wants to play single player for 6 months? You know, it's not, the only, like I said, the only memorable single player they've ever had, the only memorable one, like truly memorable, was the one from Bad Company 2. That was awesome. That was that was fun. It had humor in it. It was cool. You know, it was cool. After that, I must confess, I didn't really play that much of BF3 or BF4 single player. I mean, not all of it. I played BF3 single player almost to the end. You see, I don't even remember.
Not memorable at all, so it doesn't really do anything for you.
I remember almost everything from Metro 2033. Everything, every item, where it was, the sound, the campaign itself, the story, the multiple endings, the fact that after I finished the game, I went and and started the Ranger Hardcore mode and finished on that, and that was awesome. I remember everything, the story, everything. That's a single player game.
Something that I think they could really add to the single player that they did in BF3 was the... I don't know whether it wasn't really part of the single player as such, but the multiplayer aspect in single player. So you play online with a friend, but you play in story mode. I think that could be something quite cool. And they've done similar things in Call of Duty, I remember, and some of it was local, not online multiplayer. And obviously they won't do that, but something along those lines where you're playing a certain game just with a friend, so completing a mission on hardcore mode, and you can obviously turn all the settings up because you've got a friend with you, and it's just another aspect and another...
Yeah, but my idea, and I posted this idea like ever since BF3, if I'm not mistaken, was to have like regular community missions where you had something like co-op missions. You know, like imagine having to escort a convoy with your Viper or your maybe Apache from Bad Company 2. Like if you had to escort a convoy, but you're with a mate. Or if you have to do like escort a convoy and you got your mate in the chopper and you got like 2 of your mates on the ground in a tank.
Oh yeah.
Something like that, and you have to escort, you know, like, and they come up with these monthly missions, and it's essentially not single player, it's co-op.
And it's mini DLC at the same time, isn't it? Because it's extra stuff.
Yeah. And it keeps the community fresh, it keeps it coming back. And the only single player you need, come on, let's be honest, in a Battlefield game, you only need something like a training environment where you learn how to shoot, you learn the drops of the weapons, you learn the drops of the vehicle weapons. You know, you can test everything you need to test without a penalty to your stats. That's what single player should be about in Battlefield games, not storytelling.
And linking that to what I've seen again in this leak, it will be linked on screen. The episodes and chapters list that came out relating to the single player goes through this kind of episode sort of thing. So you've got the prologue at the beginning, same as other campaigns. Then episode 1, you're looking at 4 chapters. The first one entitled Flight School. So I'm assuming that's some sort of learn how to fly the biplane sort of thing.
Yeah, and Tank Assault, learn how to tank.
Exactly. So
like
possibly they could link it to that. Possibly. But again, what's the point in making a whole campaign, putting all this effort into it, when you could just do, as you said, a very simple kind of training exercise where you're guided through everything.
Tutorials. Yeah, tutorials. We don't really... I understand and I appreciate. I'm not negatively criticizing them for this. I'm not saying essentially that they're bad storytellers or anything like that. I'm just saying that they're trying to cram too much content into one game. We've seen that with the Battlefield 4 single player and the Battlefield 4 weapon attachments and weapons.
It doesn't add anything to the game at all.
So much content, so bloated with content, where you just need to focus on certain things. That's it. I mean, if you had tutorials for tanks and choppers and whatever, it would have been much more efficient at teaching people how to work together, how to run your vehicles properly, how to shoot. That's all you need. You don't really need a good story. And I realize that some people are fans of single player, and I got nothing against those people. But when you look at everything that's gone on in the past with Battlefield single player, we're better off without it. Battlefield 2 didn't have a single player. You know what it had? I could make my own server.
Ah, it's a big thing, that is.
I could make my own server on any map I chose. And you know what else it had instead of single player?
Go on.
LAN support. Okay?
Yeah.
So I had LAN support, and I had my own fucking server without paying shit. Without paying anything. Of course it was not official. Of course.
But it's fun, because you could have your friends on and just do something different, right?
Yeah, and the last thing we had in BF2 was something that we're not going to see here. Battle recorder.
Oh yeah, I wish they had battle recorder.
All that time, and I'm not bringing down DICE for doing this. it's their decision, but all the time spent on storytelling and all the graphics that goes with it and all the mechanics, everything, tying it to achievements and all that time could have been better spent on something like Battle Recorder or, you know, everything I mentioned. It's,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just me.
CSGO doesn't
would
have a
much prefer
campaign,
that.
does it? CSGO?
CS:GO?
It doesn't
No,
have a
what the fuck?
campaign.
I don't know.
Of course it doesn't have a
I don't know.
campaign.
I've only played the multiplayer.
Yeah,
Isn't that CS?
exactly,
What the
exactly. No one says, have you played Battlefield 4? Oh, what? The multiplayer or the single player? No one says that.
Yeah, nobody cares about that. When was the last time somebody came to you and said, "Oh my God, Art, have you played this mission?"
Yeah. The only reason you play the campaign, and people won't honestly admit this because it's kind of sad, but you play it to unlock the weapons
For the
and
guns,
the achievements
yeah, for the
and
guns.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't play it because it's good. That's a complete joke.
Now, if it were good, if it were like awesome, if it were like an awesome experience, like yeah, I would go for a campaign. You know how? I want to be able to play it with 5 other people.
Yes, definitely.
I want make a campaign around that. I want to be able to play it with 5 other people, and that way you will encourage teamwork, communication, and understanding.
Yeah. Sound like David Attenborough there. Understanding. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see a Battlefield game where people have all of those things. Very rare to find someone with those.
But that's a solution.
It is
you know?
a
Keep the single
simple
player.
solution.
Keep the single player in test range and make co-op storytelling. Awesome. Share the experience with your friends. Trademark, DICE.
Bring a lawsuit.
Whoops.